Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going to get to the JRC here in a moment, but first, far quicker regards to the disclaimers and on to the trigger warnings. I am sorry I'm so late today, but I was forced to people. So I'm going to try to keep it quick so I can then turn around and enjoy an evening being in my pseudo-autistic bubble of nope with me and my cat, probably some silent movies, and let's face it, I had the people. Right immediately afterwards, there's probably going to be about 2 to 3 Marx Brothers movies to follow, one right after another after that. Alright, folks, to the disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, all pertinent links can be found within the description box. Everything has its heading right before the link so you know exactly where they're going to take you. They are literally a guide to all of our receipts that has to do with the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center. So please go ahead and take a look at those. If you'd like to read for yourself, go ahead and click on the links. Trigger warnings. When we do talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, Tobin World, Circle of Hope, Agape Boarding School, Kennett Camp, and a whole lot of places just like them that have to either do with some bizarre evangelical take on so-called tough love, or you're dealing with individuals who like to just essentially torture disabled people and get away with it by calling it medicine. When we talk about these places, you're going to hear some vivid descriptions of and catch clips or surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you do got young children present, please make sure to utilize the headphones. Also, speaking of, for that very reason, we do have this channel marked not for kids, as well as the fact that we do use profanity on this channel. So if your child is 16 and younger and they are watching the contents from this channel, parental supervision is very much advised. Also, not necessarily a trigger, but what can I say? It's amateur hour on this channel. I do not have all the bells and whistles and wouldn't know how to put them together if I did. So I apologize for that in advance. If you see me stop out of nowhere and get up out of my seat to go answer the door, that's probably because I'm having something delivered, or hear noises like from the back of my throat because of allergies. I apologize, but these videos take some time to do. And it's not fun that just because I tend to be technologically illiterate in regards to this type of platform, I don't want to have to stop and then redo the videos again. So, apologies for that in advance. This is a trigger warning. I do not look favorably upon the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, because the only thing those two parties have done when it comes to us disabled folks is use us as props and their little pawns every single election cycle. After the election cycle, they essentially drop off of planet Earth and do not really do anything but the bare minimum in regards to disability rights, just enough to keep their heads above water and keep people friendly enough to be able to use us again for the next election cycle. So if you are gung-ho for MAGA, or if you are gung-ho for the Democrat Party, either way, you will be offended. You have been warned, in advance. Alright? Okay, good. Now, let's see the next part of this gaslighting, nonsensical, just ranting comment that never seems to end. Alright, Goldberg versus Kelly, 397. Also, Flatford versus Chater. Are we just going to list these, or are we going to provide context in regards to why those cases are relevant in regards to banning a medical device? Because for real, not everyone is a paralegal, nor does anybody these days have a whole lot of time on their hands to go digging through court books to look this up. Does it have anything to do in regards to banning the GED device or not banning it? And if it doesn't, it's irrelevant. Sorry, cranky, tired, and I have passed my people quota for the day. So I'm hibernating. Just saying. A Social Security disability claimant have the opportunity to cross-examine a reporting physician where reasonably necessary to a full development of the evidence. What in the name of God are you smoking? What does this have to do with anything? What do you mean? Well, you, like back when you were on disability, had to write to question your physician. Yes, I know this. I bother all my doctors frequently and make sure that there is a constant, always open line of communication with every single member of my team. And I have done so ever since I first entered into the service system. What does any of that have to do with the price of beans? What are you even trying to get to here? Yes, we are allowed to question our physicians. To use their terminology, although God knows why, we can even cross-examine them and question why they want to put us on a particular treatment program or medication. That's why I tell people you can't just accept as though it were the gospel whatever the doctor tells you in regards to anything such as medication, treatment plans. You gotta ask questions, and when things aren't working out, you gotta open your mouth because your doctor isn't psychic. This, however, has nothing to do with the case at hand. For multiple reasons. Let's start with number one, shall we? JRC. At no point in time in any of the documentation I have gone through that has come through you all, have I ever seen anywhere where you gave a singular shit in regards to the right to self-autonomy and the right to consent in regards to your students? What you hammer in instead is that because they are minors, but their parents consented, and we got a sign. But that's still consent. In actuality, in legal terms, maybe. In reality, no. Because the consent of the actual person being put on this treatment is not considered at all. Okay? So, are you putting a sentence like that they have a right to question the physician? Like, can I tell you all what I think that means? Okay, good. See, the JRC does not believe that any of the students that they put on that device have any right to self-autonomy of any kind. Two main reasons usually have to do with their reasoning. A, they are minors, which means what control they do have over their own care, mental health, medical, or otherwise, is extremely limited. And usually it is the parents, especially in early childhood years to mid-teenage years, usually fall to the parents. These parents are not being approved for disability. The kid is. So, what are we even saying here? We'll get to that in a moment, okay? The second reason that consent of the actual individuals who are forced to go through this torture is not even considered is because professionals like those who work at the Judge Rothberg Educational Center do not believe that we are actually human. Okay? They do not believe that we have the capacity or mental ability to make the right decisions in regards to our own mental and medical care. Okay? They do not think we are competent enough to make those types of decisions. They come from the old school, where individuals like the person who created ABA therapy essentially said, when you have someone with autism, you have a person that's in shape of a human being. They have eyes, ears, nose, a mouth, but they're not really human. So what we do with ABA is we gotta build a human from the inside out. That is the type of mindset that we are dealing with here, okay? So then, you might ask, then Tiffany, what are they talking about here? I'm glad you asked. In the mind of places like the JRC, in the situation where the individuals in question are considered not competent enough to be able to speak on their own behalf, then the parents of the said person that's taking the treatment is supposed to be allowed to come and speak on their behalf. That is exactly what the JRC wants. Because the reasons are a lot of those individuals that sit there defending the JRC every day, all day, day in, day out, they are Kool-Aid drinking true believers, where the ends are justified by any means, no matter how controversial or evil, horrific, abusive, and monstrous it is. as long as they get what they want, then they will never question the means to give them what they want. And they don't want anybody else questioning the means to get them what they want either. Hence, major blowback, and why people like myself have had these individuals literally threaten us, our families. Not that it fazed me any. I do come from a family of veterans with bad attitudes and a whole lot of working with dregs of society, special level of rage. What I mean by that is most of us have to deal with Karens all day, every day, 24/7, okay? But anyways, so my interpretation of what they're trying to do here with that sentence is because they don't think that the person being stuck on that device has the competency to be able to speak on their own behalf. The JRC wants to use the parents in the kid's stead to repeat the JRC propaganda talking points as though it was the parents' own idea. Okay? So, what would that mean? Well, the JRC wants the parents to speak up on the behalf of their kids and essentially tell the FDA they're wrong. But there's another problem here. And what might that be? That's simple. A good majority of these parents are not lawyers. Some of them may be, but most of them are not. So what the JRC does, and the Kool-Aid drinking parents do, is they all use the same attorneys, the same firm, right? So what they're actually saying here is with the consent of the parents and the JRC, they want to treat this like a court case and not the hearing it actually is, and have the JRC/parent group lawyers cross-examine the ER doctors who took down the documentation of the second and third degree burns and other injuries from the students that got rushed into their ERs from the JRC. They want to be able to cross-examine anyone in regards to expertise to try to blur the lines in regards to the photographic evidence of said injuries obtained by the GED device. And most importantly of all, they really want to cross-examine and try to confuse the individuals that have brought forth the JRC's own video surveillance footage and basically pull a whole, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? I say this because otherwise the sentence we just read makes no coherent sense whatsoever. Right? No sense at all. But I have absolutely no doubt that is exactly what they were trying to do with that sentence there. Now, because we got a little bit into it, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. We'll get the second half of this paragraph here right after this. But first, let me go ahead and sign off now. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, if you could, we definitely appreciate it. If you would please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and as always folks, please don't forget to get the comments. I absolutely do appreciate your time today, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I will see you all here again in just a second. Bye-bye, everyone.